the most important differentiation between holistic practitioner and kind of a conventional one, because the more time you give, the more attention you give to the person you're working with, the more you're going to be able to help them.
Welcome to the Calorie Conundrum podcast with Coach Strick. Join us as we expand the weight loss conversation to beyond just calories and dare to ask the question, why does eating less and exercising more sometimes not produce the desired results? Here's Coach Strick to discuss this Calorie Conundrum.
Hello and welcome to the Calorie Conundrum podcast. This is Coach Strick. And on today's podcast, we have Berna Khoury. Berna is a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner who specializes with those who have food sensitivities, digestive issues, mold biotoxin illnesses, histamine intolerances, inflammatory skin conditions, autoimmune illnesses, hormonal imbalances, parasites, candida, and leaky gut. Berna does not subscribe to a one-size-fits-all diet or wellness protocol. Instead, she uses special functional lab tests to investigate and identify hidden malfunctions and imbalances that are at the root cause of your chronic health symptom. She then develops a natural, personalized dietary and lifestyle protocol to help you heal and get rid of your chronic symptoms. Berna also started a natural and pure skincare brand targeted at formulating multifunctional, minimalistic beauty products with only a handful of ingredients that actually work. All of her products are made from real ingredients, free from chemicals and harmful additives. Listen as Berna explains what it means to be a health detective and why, if you are struggling with your health or weight, you may want to find one.
Berna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here, Sean. Really excited for this.
So, like most health coaches, many have their own story when it comes to health and what got them into being a health coach. So, can you share with the audience your health story?
Yeah, I'll try to summarize it really quickly here, but it basically started in my early 20s when I started having some reoccurring health issues. Even though I was fairly active and I thought I was eating a pretty healthy diet, I was getting sick pretty frequently. Infections here and there. I was given antibiotics and proton pump inhibitors on and off for about 3 years. I felt better at first, great even, but with time, my symptoms kept persisting. New ones resurfaced. I had a lot of inflammatory skin conditions. At first, I was having trouble gaining weight, and then, the opposite kind of happened. I was having trouble losing weight, despite no matter what I tried, no matter what diet or exercise routine I had, I still had these persistent symptoms. I eventually gave up on the conventional medical world and tried a few holistic approaches, but nothing gave me long-term relief. Again, I was just masking symptoms with natural remedies, extreme limitation diets for a very long time. I had hypersensitive skin issues, bloating, IBS, just a whole long list of things until, I started FDN, where we met. It was only when I truly found out that I had mold toxicity, mast cell activation, and I targeted these things specifically that I started to see, symptoms resolution. And I think it was like within 6 months of my program, because before becoming a health practitioner, I actually worked with an FDN practitioner to resolve my own issues. And within 6 months, I was already feeling better. And like you said, a lot of us come through here because of our personal experience. And that's when I knew that, there had to be a lot of people suffering just like I was. And, I've decided to make that my purpose in life, to help people see that their body is not just angry with them, it's trying to tell them something. And the sooner they listen, the more proactive they are about their health, the better they're going to be on the long run. So
Okay.
I've been coaching since 2018, and about a year and a half ago, I actually started formulating my own natural skincare products and giving workshops, one-on-one or in groups. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. So you briefly mentioned some of the things you were dealing with, but would you mind like kind of going a little bit deeper into some of the issues you were originally facing that caused you to have
Yeah,
to be on antibiotics and protein pump inhibitors and all that kind of stuff?
yeah, sure. Yeah. So I started having some throat infections, like bacterial infections. So, doctors were very quick to prescribe antibiotics for that without, getting to the root cause of why this keeps on happening. Sorry. And then it was accompanied by fever, acid reflux. Sometimes I would just wake up like this. So, for my GERD, I was given proton pump inhibitors. And even though they told me to, at one point, watch out for certain foods, which I did, I was very compliant. I still had, the same problems recur, or like I would have infections, but in different areas, or like skin infections, some rashes, and painful hives. So the antibiotics were given topically, and I also had to ingest them. And I used to have flare-ups and a lot of abdominal pain. For that, I would be given steroids sometimes if I had to go to the ER. So just like trying to silence the symptoms. And then when I was not able to lose weight, they basically just told me that it was in my head. So I was also prescribed antidepressant medication at one point, which of course I didn't take. I was, I knew there had to be another way. Like something inside me always told me like, this is not it, this could not be normal. And I just refused it. And it was actually one night that my brother took me to the ER, and I had like this fit where I was just like yelling at everyone because they just tried to shove me with these, I'm not against pharmaceuticals per se. There's a time and place for everything, but like I knew my issues were not just in my head. So I didn't want to take the antidepressants. And then one doctor, he came and specifically told me to look for answers outside of the medical world. So I looked at him, I was like, but I'm hooked to an IV here. I'm sick. What do you mean outside of the medical world? So he told me to look deeper into nutrition, into my environment. And then I thought that I had nothing to lose at that point. I had basically tried everything anyway. And, the antibiotics, they stopped working. I even had to perform surgery, remove my tonsils because they were getting infected. So, of course, let's just have them removed and solve the problem. But again, nothing was solved because I had like infections in other places, and just bloating kept on persisting. And I had a lot of nausea, a lot of vomiting. It's very hard to tell, like even with food intolerances, you can't just like eliminate everything for years. So do you want more details or?
No, that's good. I think I would like you to. So that was that world, and then you said you
Yeah.
found more of a natural place before you
Mm-hmm.
finally found the kind of the
At
answer.
the end.
What was that in between space that you
Yeah.
found?
The in-between space was, so basically I was introduced to the paleo diet around 2016. So yeah, in my early 20s, that would be 2011. So in 2016, after like I had spent like a couple of years before that just trying every single thing out there. In 2016, a holistic practitioner told me like they advised me to go on a paleo diet. I did do low FODMAP and low histamine also. So that kind of curbed my symptoms. It helped, it kind of helped lower my allergies, and especially the environmental allergies that I was having and the bloating and things like that. But I was still not 100% myself. I was also given a lot of supplements though, like too much, I think. Like my body could not handle that much supplements. And it was still kind of like a treat the symptoms kind of approach, a trial and error kind of thing. But it was using natural therapies instead of, pharmaceuticals. Like I was still, if I had a react, because when your body is super sensitive, it's going to become, my body was becoming intolerant to whatever I used. So if I used antibiotics for a long time, it would be intolerant to that. The same thing with natural supplements. At one point, they just stopped working. Elimination diets, they worked also briefly for a few months. Yeah, I would always feel better for the first 4 to 6 weeks, and then it would just start going downhill. So I would never be able to say, yeah, I feel better, because I knew like it was gonna, get worse pretty soon, which it always did. And then in 2017, I kind of like hit rock bottom. I basically I had low blood pressure, persistent, very low blood pressure. I couldn't work, read, or do anything outside of my house. And that's when I actually saw Reed Davis, the founder of FDN, speaking in a video. I don't know how I got to his a webinar, or I don't remember what it was, but something just clicked in my head, and I was like, okay, because I had seen a few holistic practitioners at the time, and even the holistic practitioners, I remember them telling me like, no, you are doing better. Like, it was also kind of like, it's still in your head kind of approach, but for me, I knew there was something wrong. And yeah, something after watching Reed Davis, something inside my head just clicked. So I just, I went, because I was also questioning, my career path and all of these things. So I quickly signed up for the program and emailed them with my concerns. And they connected me with someone who had worked with similar issues. Specifically, she worked with people who had Lyme disease. And so, yeah, there were a couple of years of trial and error before FDN. And even though with the holistic practitioners, I did do some testing, I did get some answers, like I'm not going to say no, but it was still kind of just like catching the end of it,
Yeah. So that was a lot of good information there. And I would like to point out once again, I mean, we've heard it on this podcast multiple times before, but it's this idea of the body is telling us something, and then we go to figure out what that's means in a conventional type of setting, and it almost always results in, well, what medication will stop that symptom from happening, or if the medication doesn't work, then can we just cut that part out, or some like band-aid approach, which never actually gets to the reason why that symptom is happening. And the sad part about it in society today is that this is becoming like the standard operation procedure. Like, this is how we do things. And people have it. That's just how people think in their mind. They're like, oh, I have GERD, I'm just going to take some, Tums or something. Instead of saying, why do I have GERD, and can I fix this GERD thing, instead of just, putting some kind of Band-Aid over this issue. And so thanks for sharing all that information, because I know there's lots of people that are having these issues, maybe not all of these, but some of them, maybe more. But all these things are, signs from the body saying, hey, you need to pay attention here. There's something going on. And the more you band-aid this stuff, the more your body's going to produce more symptoms.
Yeah.
And then it's just
it's gonna be like, you're not listening, I'm gonna scream at you. And then, we're just not used to being in tune with what our body is telling us. We're just not used to listening to our body and respecting it and what it does. We just put it through so much, and going for these quick fixes, it might make you feel better on the short term, but it's always gonna, you're gonna get to a point where you're either desperately looking for solutions, and that's gonna be somewhere with a functional practitioner, or you're gonna be forced to do surgery, or even worse, at some point.
Some kind of disease that ends up killing you or something like that. Paul Chek calls it the pain teacher. So the pain teacher. Okay. The pain teacher. So the pain teacher comes to teach you a lesson. Okay. And if you don't get the lesson, it's going to continue to press the issue. And so that's very important to not try to suppress these symptoms.
Yeah, because usually, exactly, because usually when you feel the pain, this means that like there's something going on, and it's been going on for a while. And then, your body, I think pain is like your body's last resort to tell you, like, there's something going on, watch out. It's probably been trying to tell you something for a while. And then,
For sure. Another thing I would like to point out was that I guess you could call him an angel, that doctor that said, hey, maybe you need to check somewhere else because this isn't working. And there's more and more people waking up to this, that if you're in a car wreck or you get shot somewhere, then you want to go to the emergency room and you go to the hospital and have them save you. But when it comes to these chronic issues like this, even the physicians are understanding that it doesn't work. Like, we can suppress the symptoms. If you're dying from one of these crazy things, we can save you and keep you alive. But when it comes to actually figuring out the issue and the root cause, and then fixing it, there's no answer when it comes to this stuff, because they're just prescribing medications, cutting, burning or something, and that's not going to solve your problem. So we talked about your history, and we talked about the intermediate. What was it about the FDN, treatment that you were going through that was different from the other two, that allowed you to kind of get to the other side of these problems you were dealing with?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think the whole approach is very efficient in and of itself. So, I didn't do that much testing, and right now with my clients, I usually just mostly look at blood work and maybe some stool testing. But I think just analyzing the tests properly and finding out exactly what type of bacteria I had in my gut, what type of parasite, and just working on these things specifically with a combination, by the way, of natural therapies. And I did take some medication for a while, like a very short period, along with, like, for example, I figured out that the reason why at one point I was unable to lose weight is because I had a slow thyroid, and that was caused by my gut issues. And this is not something that, a doctor is going to look at, because, the lab ranges that they look at are totally different. And this was something that I curiously was just looking at, and I noticed the pattern with my T3 and T4 levels over the years. And I asked this practitioner, and she's like, yeah, this looks like it could be a pattern. So it wasn't just one thing that I did. It was like the whole investigative work, but specifically like targeting the gut, and knowing that, it is the hidden key for, I think, almost all modern day diseases. Um, but especially for weight loss, because this is what your podcast is about. So, especially for weight loss and, just I was taking so many antibiotics for so many years, thinking that they would make my problem better. But I think they just made it worse because, taking antibiotics for such a long time is just going to kill off all the bacteria in the gut, like the good and the bad. And that imbalance kind of like created more chronic stress, more chronic infections, probably more toxins. The only good thing I think that I was doing was paying close attention to my diet. But again, you can't fix your body through diet alone. You can't heal yourself. You can't, just like you can't supplement your way out of a bad diet. You can't, diet your way out of gut infection. So we worked very systematically and very gently on my body because it was very sensitive. So it was kind of like if you have a big room or like a big house that's very dirty, you're not just going to come and clean it all. You work, room by room, cleaning each individual space. So first, we were just focusing on, getting rid of these infections, making sure they're not like recirculating in the body, making sure, they're just being excreted, supporting the liver. Because I also, like, when I was in my early 20s, I was never like into like, I was always pretty health conscious. So I didn't even drink or go out that much, but I did have issues with my liver. I was hospitalized once because of a fatty liver. And they couldn't believe that I didn't drink alcohol at all. So we worked on supporting my liver. And then after the first 3 months, we were working more, on balancing the hormones, on making sure, I started tolerating more foods. In very small quantities, we added fermented foods, even dairy products. I never thought I could have dairy products again. Things that I had stopped for years, coffee, just like simple pleasures for me. So yeah, I think it was a combination of knowing exactly what was going on in my gut, that it had affected my thyroid function. And just knowing the exact steps, with the diet. For me, it was mostly just very restrictive. So, and I didn't know at the time. I thought like, okay, I'm intolerant to everything, so I just need to eliminate everything. But it was mostly about, okay, I eliminated all of these things, and now what? Like, the problem is still there. You're just like eliminating the trigger. And so the body becomes intolerant to what you eat more of. So yeah, when the elimination was combined with healing the gut properly, rebalancing, good versus bad bacteria, and because our body is and we're just discovering these things about the gut and the microbiome, yeah, I think taking the right supplements was especially important for me. There were a lot of probiotics, for example, that I couldn't tolerate. So we focused on reintroducing, foods that are high in probiotics, fermented foods, and things like that. Yeah, so I think it was like just the whole approach of it that really supported my body. And then mold for me was a big game changer. I used to have like recurrent fungal infections, and I didn't know what was going on. It turns out that like genetically, I'm someone that doesn't metabolize mold very well. and my room specifically was I tested it and it was pretty high in mold. So removing myself from that environment was a big game changer. The funny thing is, it's been 3 years later now, and we kind of did try to remediate the room, and I couldn't tolerate it at the time. But being back there now is fine. After healing, I can spend days there without having any sinus issues or any allergies. But at the time, I couldn't be in that space anymore because, I could take all the binders, I could take all the natural supplements, but I was still in that environment that was making me sick. And there were a lot of other small steps, just making sure the space is always clean, so that it doesn't have mold accumulation. White vinegar. I used to clean everything with white vinegar, like laundry, house is like my all-purpose cleanser. So it was a lot of, small things that built up over time. But I think, mostly removing myself from that environment physically, and working on this specific imbalances that I had in my gut. It was a very targeted approach that, made me start to feel myself again. And it was amazing. Like the changes that I started feeling at one point, I used to wake up like a different person, especially I wasn't super overweight, but I had I don't know how to translate it into pounds. I think 10 pounds that kind of appeared out of nowhere. And then when I started working on my gut and mold specifically, I started a few supplements and things. So I would sleep and wake up with a different body. It was relatively fast. And I was so surprised that over the years, nothing had worked. So yeah.
Yeah. So when you address the actual root cause, things happen rapidly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah. And the funny thing is, a lot of the natural a lot of the natural therapeutic supplements that I was taking with the FDM practitioner, I had already taken them with other practitioners, but my body was not responding because it was just again a trial and error kind of thing, or maybe this will help. So at the time, I was taking so many supplements, trying so many different diets that my body was okay, I don't know, maybe something's working, but it's just a whole chaos of things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you talked about lots of different things here, and before you talked about a lot of different symptoms you had. And so if someone comes to you seeking help from you as a health coach, and they have a list of symptoms, and they have a list of problems with their body as far as digestion or whatever, kind of walk us through and they want to lose weight. That's the idea. They want to lose weight and they can't lose weight. What are some of the things that you would do with them, and some of the things you would hit upon as far as investigation or education?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think almost everyone wants to lose weight. And I think it's, I don't like to focus on the symptoms so much, but I think when it comes to dealing with clients, it's very important motivator, because a lot of people just kind of give up and get into this zone of, okay, nothing has worked, so I'm just going to live with the weight and eat whatever I want and not exercise and just give up on everything. So I actually had a few clients who started with me because, this inability to lose weight had stopped them from being able to live their lives, such as, I don't know, going out with their partner or exercising. They just haven't been feeling themselves. So, number one, what I usually do, I I look at their blood tests, that's for sure. Comprehensive blood analysis. I also do stool testing. I have yet to see a clean test. I think everyone kind of has something, either a bacteria or a parasite or a combination. And and then after I have the results, I sit down with my clients one on one. Of course, at first I gather a lot of information about their history, their complaints, everything that I can to kind of get to know the person behind the test even more. And the more information I have on the person, the better. I think that's the only differentiation between, the most important differentiation between holistic practitioner and kind of a conventional one, because the more time you give, the more attention you give to the person you're working with, the more you're going to be able to help them. For example, like there was one client that was having difficulty sleeping because they were going to the bathroom very frequently, and he wouldn't know what was going on. He tried everything. He thought it was related to his prostate health. In the end, like, I don't know how. I mean, he was telling me that all doctors were saying like his prostate seems fine, his tests are fine. So I was wondering, like, okay, maybe it's something else. What kind of medications do you take? And then, I figured out that he was taking medication to help lower his blood pressure. And, that's the number one side effect is frequent urination at night. So just listening to the person, being like questioning things and thinking critically can lead to a lot of aha moments. And basically when I gather the blood tests and everything that I have about the person, I sit down with them and kind of explain to them exactly what's going on with them. Like, okay, you're not able to lose weight because, for example, your insulin, look at it, it's so high. Why is it so high? Let's look at the diet. Let's look at what's going on here. So I kind of go through each marker one-on-one. Usually with weight loss resistance, it's a combination of many things. I usually see a lot of hormonal imbalances along with gut imbalances, like gut infections and fungal infections. I don't know if it's related to where I live specifically, because here it's very humid and there are a lot of like old infrastructures. So there are a lot of people who don't know that they're living in a toxic environment, or that the infrastructure is moldy or there's water damage. But this is in my experience, or like maybe these are the clients that I'm attracting. So usually, and a lot of people are kind of fascinated. Like, I never knew I had thyroid issues. No one told me. And it's because, the way we look at blood tests, it's more proactive. Like, I'm not going to wait until you are out of range in the lab ranges to tell you, oh, you need to take this medication, because that's what usually happens. I had one client who he noticed that he had like these irrational, irrational anger or irrational reactions. He thought he was like getting too angry for nothing. So he measured his blood sugar and it was like 400 or something. And then he goes to the doctor and the doctor tells him, you have to, start on medication. You have to control your blood sugar. And he was really scared. He came to me, he's like, please tell me, like, I don't want to be on medication. Please just like, tell me if there's an alternative. And there was an alternative. He was able to control his blood sugar naturally. He now does breathing exercises every day. He manages his blood pressure. There's a lot of things you can do when you are, that desperate, and when you are prioritizing your health, when it's like the most important thing, because no one's gonna feel bad or regret an investment made into their health. So I think with interpreting blood tests, it's very individualized, but because, the lab ranges that we look at are so much more narrow and, based on people who are actually thriving and feeling better. And, the proof is in the pudding, like they say. I've had a lot of people trying to lose weight, and, once we target healing the gut and the thyroid specifically, it's like they're a new person. Like they tell me, and I look at them and see mood wise, physically, it's like they feel themselves again, with just like very simple basic things, just feeding their body properly, not necessarily like strenuous exercising, but more movement, taking targeted supplements, and it's just transformational.
Yeah, it's one of the things I like about stretching and self-myofascial release and foam rolling and stuff like that is that oftentimes when somebody's in pain, or they're having some kind of niggle or whatever you want to call it, just a little bit of stretching or foam rolling or body work usually can eliminate that. But when you let it go long enough, then it actually becomes a real issue where you're going to have some kind of attention, whether it be surgery or whatever. And that's kind of the similar concept of what you're saying right now. There's a lot you can do with just what you're eating, how you're breathing, what you're consuming as far as drinking water, getting enough rest and things like that, if you're doing those consistently over time, they're going to add up and you're going to see, good results, without having to go to that next level of intervention, which is going to, it could be surgery or some kind of high dose medication or whatever. And it just comes down to the fundamentals, the basics of health.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes it's just as simple as, a deficient, like, I don't know, a zinc deficiency or a vitamin D deficiency or a B12 deficiency. And I have people coming and telling me, like, more people should know about this, like, and just taking B12, it's like, I'm like a different person. I feel so much better and I'm in such better mood. Like, it's just B12, like, really? And I'm like, yeah, really, it affects a lot of things in your body, or magnesium, or just there are a lot of very simple things, and there's nothing to lose, right? Like, okay, let's say you try the natural way and it doesn't work, you have time to just go and take your medication and be stuck with it for a decade or two, and then take more medications for any side effect that this medication is going to give you, and be stuck in that vicious cycle. But why not try something else first? I especially see this with younger clients who are just afraid or too stuck in their comfort zone to change anything. People, even friends, coming and telling me, oh, I'm so embarrassed to show you my blood test, like my cholesterol or my triglycerides are off the charts. And I'm like, it's fine. Like, these are good. I mean, bad test results are good, because you can't fix what you don't know. So now and we can work on these things. But some people just do not have it as a priority, maybe, or they just thinking of the now and enjoying short-term pleasures. But it's like you said, again, if you don't do the stretches, if you don't do the things and be proactive, you just sweep things under the rug, they're just gonna accumulate into something bigger. Like there's no other way around it.
Exactly. And that's another thing is people nowadays, like you said before, they don't know that this is how it works. They don't know that you just have to do these simple, basic things consistently, and they can improve their health. They can lose weight. Most people that are looking to lose weight, and that's the whole point of this podcast. In reality, is that if you ask, you go out on the street and you ask 100 people, how do you lose weight? 99.9 of them are going to say, well, you have to eat less and you have to exercise more. And when you say that, you're leaving out so many different variables, like the ones you've discussed here. All these things you just talked about as far as what you would do to help someone, lose weight, have nothing to do with eating less or exercising more.
No, they'll probably be eating more, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we've had other people
a lot
say
of the
that.
time.
Yeah, and Carl said, he has eat more, and then he has his people exercising less to lose weight. And everyone's different, but I mean, that just goes to show that like people don't know this basic information, and so that's the kind of idea is getting this basic information out there to help people that are stuck, whether it's weight loss or health in other ways like yours was before. Just this basic information. It sounds too simple to work, and to be the truth, but it's how the body works. Yeah, it's how the body works, and the more.
Yeah, exactly. And there are a lot of people who, kind of overthink it in their heads. And, whenever I explain to them what I do, they kind of like freak out and they're like, oh, I'm not ready for this kind of commitment. Like it's too much. And I always try to simplify it into small steps. And I always emphasize the fact that, okay, I'm not going to tell you to change your life overnight. These are simple steps, just small changes that are going to build up over time. And that's at least the way it worked with me. And that's how I see, successful people taking charge of their health all the time, just these small changes accumulating over time. And it's an ongoing process. Like if I think of my health right now, it's not the same as it was, a few months ago or a year ago or, 2 years ago. So it's ever changing, it's evolving. It's really about the basics, it doesn't have to be, superfoods or just these, it doesn't even have to be like these amazing bowls or, sometimes it's, okay, sometimes, it's fancy and you have time to meal prep and things like that. But sometimes you have to be practical, and it's just about learning the better choices or learning what to do in such situations. How it's just being in control of your health. It's so powerful when people experience true health and know that they are in control of their circumstances and their symptoms. It's not the other way around. Like, it's just the best feeling, I think.
Yeah,
not having this outside concept that health is, it's something from outside. It's a pill or it's this or that. No, it's being in tune with your body and like really knowing what is best for you.
Exactly, and that's so important. It's that it's so freeing, and I think I talked about that on my last podcast. It's just like there's nothing more freeing than having control over this stuff. And when you're huffing and puffing going upstairs, or you got diabetes and you have to make sure you take the medication or take the shot or something bad's going to happen, like that's like a weight on your shoulders, and these are things that you can fix, and another thing you said was about the time and just doing small increments. I made a podcast titled The Invisible Soda, and it talked about how I don't drink soda, but it wasn't, I didn't quit soda cold turkey. I switched from soda to like lemonades and Powerade type drinks. And then I did that for about three years or so. And then I switched to water and drink mainly just water. And so it took about 4 or 5 years to transition from drinking soda all the time to not drinking it at all. but it wasn't just something I quit cold turkey. But most things are like that. It doesn't have to be overnight thing, but you got to be moving in the right direction as far as your health goes, or this stuff's going to accumulate. It's going to build up on you, and you're going to end up in a bad space looking for
and
health
it's great
coaches.
that you mentioned that because it's great that you mentioned that because people think, I mean, at least with me, and I'm sure it happens with you, that like when you tell them about your health struggles or that you used to drink soda all the time, they're like, oh wow, like I didn't know, I thought you were like this all the time. You're just healthy, and that's just how you are all the time, like how you've always been. So it's really important to tell people that, like, no, I mean, this is something that, like, this is the product of years, maybe, a decade. And then, it's not something you're born with. It's learned. Health is learned, and it is something that you can, learn.
And you said it's learned. The sad part is that we should be taught this when we're kids. And so we know it, but nobody's teaching like how to actually live, where, we've totally lost that aspect of, who we are and what we're about. And so here we are trying to educate people on how things work.
Reteach.
There you go. So any last words that you would share with somebody that was, like looking for, help, weight loss or health or otherwise?
I would say don't be super hard on yourself, and just do your best every day and try to keep an open mind into what would be the main reason. If a diet doesn't work, there is no reason whatsoever to just stick to it just because someone told you. Try something different, and you will find something that works, whether it's a diet, a supplement, a health practitioner to help you discover the root causes of what's going on. Don't follow what your friend is telling you or what worked for a colleague. Just try to always just try everything and keep on trying until you find what's best for you, and you will, and you're gonna know that this is the best thing for you. Because I've been there myself, and it's kind of confusing and frustrating when you hear or read different things online and different advice here and there. But in the end, it's about finding what's going to work for you.
I mean, that's the bottom line of the whole health thing. And people get stuck in that outside in approach that you were talking about before, as far as getting health from somewhere else. Everybody's trying to find the guru or the doctor and tell me what to eat, and tell me what exercise. Tell me what exercises to do and whatnot. And it's like, I can tell you, and I can study, and I can know a lot of stuff, but when it comes to your body, like, you're the expert. And you have to take ownership of that, and then you have to find out what's the best exercise for yourself. You have to figure out what the best food is for yourself, like you said. And until we start doing that more, and taking that ownership, and giving people the room to do that as like a health coach or a practitioner, until we do that, we're just going to be in this vicious cycle of doing what our body's telling us not to do, even though it's telling us not to do it, and going on to the next thing and doing the same thing, instead of actually listening to the body and heeding the body's advice of what to do or what not to do. All right, Berna. Well, if people would want to reach out to you or find out more information about you, where do they go?
They could check it out. They could check out my Instagram page at Your Wellness Detective. I think, and right in there in the bio, they have everything, access to my website, and they could just drop me a DM there.
Your Wellness Detective.
Yes, their wellness detective. Everyone's wellness detective.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming on today, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that episode with Berna. There is probably nothing more frustrating than knowing there has to be a better way, but not knowing the way. If you are struggling with your health or weight, and the traditional methods of treatment aren't working, or you feel that there has to be a better way, then there probably is. It's health detectives like Berna that can help you find the path and guide you along your journey. But ultimately, it is up to you to choose the path that is right for you. And it is your responsibility to listen to the message your body is sending and adjust course to continue in the right direction. Couple that with some health-affirming habits, perform consistently over time, and you will know what it feels like to have health that comes from within. And the ever-changing diets, health information, and advice will become less and less distracting. And with that said, this is Coach Strick saying thanks for listening. And remember, when calories in and calories out doesn't work, that, my friend, is a calorie conundrum.
This podcast, including Coach Strick and guests, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects for the use of any information contained herein. Coach Strick and/or guests may recommend products or services in which they have a direct or indirect financial interest. To find out more, please visit www.calorieconundrum.com.